Okay, getting everything set up here. Hello, both Facebook, and now it's my first recording on YouTube here for Sportsskope. I'm your host, Robert Butler. Got a lot I want to talk about today. NFL great. First ballot Hall of Famer retires today. Rob Gronkowski. Robert Kraft rejects plea deal, and I'll explain why he can and should do that. Also, Zion Williamson scored 32 points today, and also I want to make clearly that they obviously do got the win today. He scored the 32 points. I didn't see the whole stat line for that game. I know they got the 1-point win over UCF. But I got a bigger discussion with everybody today about the Zion situation. There was a report this week that he has mutual interest in the New York Knicks. We all know that the NBA lottery has not came out yet, but the Knicks have the worst record in the NBA as of today. And I want to make a point here to everybody that he can and he should, Zion Williamson of Duke can and should use his leverage. He has the most hype. If you ask most NBA experts and NBA experts and whatnot, what they project Zion and his stardom, he is the biggest prospect since LeBron James out of high school. I wouldn't go as far as saying he was hyped as much as LeBron James. I think it was insane, the hype. He did live up to that hype and deliver on it. But if you get a guy like him with the New York Knicks, that is a B12 shot to the NBA that this league, with ratings being down, desperately needs. Let me go right to the article. I want to read that, everybody. And I want to give you some examples of in pro sports history how this has happened before. This is not a first, okay? This is by Steve Serby of the New York Post this week. The next big thing in basketball, Pied Piper. You will place your life on holding chance to gawk at the next big thing. The Knicks certainly have and will. So I asked, Zerby said, freshman phenomenon Zion Williamson, is he aware that the long-suffering Knicks fans are starving for him to save them? Quote, I don't know if they need much saving, but to the New York Knicks fans, I really appreciate and love and support. If the Knicks did draft me, I would love to be there. Like I said, whatever team drafts me, that's where I want to be, and that's where I disagree with Zion, okay? Asked what he knows about the Knicks. I know that they're a very historic team, he said. They have a lot of history based off of, if they draft me, I'd be honored to play for them, Zion says. Then it says he's the next big thing, and he will be the next big thing in NBA and be the next big thing in basketball. God's merciful to the Knicks for a change in the draft lottery, even alongside of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, who have been rumored to sign with the Knicks this year. So you ask yourself, and I'm giving everybody, this is going to be interesting. This is a very historic context I'm about to give you. I did a lot of prep work today. Hardly watched any basketball. I did watch a little bit of Tennessee come back, to hold off. Who was it? Iowa in overtime today. I watched a little bit of that, but mainly I was watching some of the news and hard news today while I was prepping for today's program. By the way, the show Billions, I've been on that here recently of Showtime. Really good show. I'm just starting it in the first season. Paul Giannini. Very, very, very good series. I recommend watch. Just started the first season. I know I'm a few years behind. But anyways, okay. Has this ever happened before? Has anybody ever said, I will not sign with the team if this particular team drafts me? I will not sign with them. Only a few players with massive stardom almost a guaranteed can't miss, depending on a major injury, cannot fail type of players, or a player who may have had a father that played in professional sports, this will work for. I do not recommend this for anybody. For a guy like me that was poor growing up and did not have that father that played in professional sports, I would not try what I'm recommending that Zion Williamson do. Okay? I want to take everybody a trip down memory lane here, okay? And I want to start with another sport. Actually, I want to start 23 years ago in 1996, Tony, when Kobe Bryant was drafted not by the LA Lakers. If you recall, he was drafted by the Charlotte Hornets, believe this or not, with the 13th pick. But if some of you all may not know, remember that his Jelly Bean Bryant, his father, played in professional sports and played in Italy for 7 years. So his dad played in the NBA and he also played overseas. So he has a little bit of the landscape of the NBA. He was very highly talented. Only reason he wasn't drafted number one because there was one other player, Kevin Garnett, recently broke the high school to college thing before he did. So teams were a little bit leery about drafting a 17, 18-year-old kid into the NBA. It's a huge mistake. But let me read how this went down. This is from CBS story, Kobe Bryant and draft day trade that changed NBA history. Like I said, in June of 1996 with the 13th pick, the Hornets selected Kobe Bryant out of Lower Merion High School in Philadelphia. Then in draft day trades that would change the course of NBA history, the Los Angeles Lakers in exchange for Vlade Divac, that much indisputable. How it happened, however, is not. Over the years, it says, this deal has been well chronicled and signs to point to a master manipulation plan, which it was. I firmly believe so. By Kobe Bryant and his agent, Arm Tellem at the time, and Lakers general manager and NBA guru Jerry West, one of the greatest of all time general managers, that is. Isn't it great? You know, he's the NBA logo. Some of you may not know who Jerry West is. But anyways, was smitten by Bryant, who effectively worked in cahoots with Tellem, his agent, then Bryant's pre-draft exposure to other teams. Bryant, for his part, maintained that he did not have anything to do with leverage his way to the NBA, which is BS, which is fine. I'm okay with Kobe doing it. Charlotte never wanted me, Kobe says. Hornets coach Dave Cowens told me he did not want me. It wasn't a question, Kobe says, even in playing there. They had a couple of guards already, a couple of small forwards. So it wasn't like I would be coming off the bench much. It wasn't like I would be coming off the bench much. I mean, I had grown up watching basketball. I knew who Dave Cowens was. Pretty excited to play for him. Then there's some shades of gray. Kobe's version of his story, but it's ridiculous to think he has no say in any of it. Kobe was and is a very smart guy, having spent very much time in Italy, and I told everybody Jelly Bean Bryant is his father. This guy speaks 3 languages. He knew what was best for him. He knew who the Lakers brand was and representative. Saying the same thing with the Knicks and Zion Williamson, okay? In 1996, before the internet and social media, it says, limited the business leverages of a big market. You did not do that in Charlotte. You did it like places like LA. The only question was Kobe going there. For starters, 12 teams passed on him. That was where West and Tellem came in. Together they began orchestrating a series of skip workouts and floating rumors in and out of effort to deter any and all other suitors. There was also something else working in their favor. Back then, Garnett was the only one that broken the seal of high school players going straight to the NBA 1 year earlier. There's still plenty of skepticisms about 18-year-olds making the jump. Like I said, just to give everybody a heads up, Bryant was a risk. Eventual top pick, Allen Iverson, Marcus Camby, Ray Allen, all great players, not Kobe Bryant, were drafted ahead of Kobe. And of course, West later worked out later on that summer to get the big prize free agent Shaquille O'Neal. It all worked out. Same situation we got now going on. As of all of you may not know, if you don't know, I'm telling you now, there's a big rumor going around the NBA that Kevin Durant is rumored to sign with the Knicks. Can Kevin Durant be this year's Shaquille O'Neal? I can make the argument absolutely yes. Even better because he's actually firmly in his prime and already won a championship and been to the finals with another team, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Also, Kyrie Irving is rumored to go there with him. Even if it is just Durant, can you imagine Zion Williamson playing with Kevin Durant with the New York Knicks? That's one example. That is not the only example of players using their leverage to get drafted to the team they like to do. Again, it's only really for players who had a parent who played in that professional sport or a massive. If LeBron, for instance, got drafted by another team, say Phoenix had the #1 pick and the Cleveland Cavaliers had the #2 pick. At that point, LeBron James was already had a $50 million Nike contract sitting there in front of him. He could have said, I will not go to the, I'll go play overseas and make $50 million for 1 year and come back to the draft and go to Cleveland if the Phoenix Suns or whoever decides to draft me. Just using that for example. Another example. Okay. Archie Manning in the NFL and Eli Manning. Does anybody remember this? We're taking a trip down memory lane. We're talking in April of 2004 with the NFL draft coming up here. Eli Manning and his father orchestrated a trade that the Chargers made, who had the #1 pick, to the New York Giants. Here's the story, also from CBS, going back down memory lane, by John Breach. It was 15 years ago since the Chargers made the Eli Manning #1 overall pick in the 2004 draft. They had a very stubborn general manager, this guy A.J. Smith, that says, we'll draft whoever we think's good for our team. Well, it did work out, all's well that ends well. They got Phillip Rivers. But just days before the draft, Manning's agent, Tom Condon, same situation, told the Chargers that Eli would sit out the entire 2004 season. Zion Williamson is such a big prospect, he could get insurance anywhere to sit out the season. He could go play overseas and sign a Nike contract if he wants to. With him busting out of that shoe, you can make the argument they're almost forced to sign the guy. Plus, his stock keeps going up. Okay. He said he would sit out the entire 2004 season if the Chargers decided to draft. At the time, the Chargers general manager J.J. Smith, like I said, partly blamed Eli Manning's dad, Archie, for the mess. Condon told me that Archie wishes that we did not select, me being Condon, that which is his agent, that we did not select Eli and do think it'd be a good fit in New York with the Giants. Smith said in 2004, told the San Diego Tribune, we understand, quote, his position, certainly understand his interest in New York, but we have to do what's best for the franchise. He was stubborn and did it anyways. There were a lot of theories of why Eli did not want to play for the Chargers. Union Tribune reported Eli's camp did not want his career to end up like Archie's, getting blasted, playing with the bad Saints team. They called them the Aints in the 70s, where Archie played. Spent 11 years getting his head knocked off. In 2004, the Chargers were on an ugly run and had put together a total of 4 winning seasons since 1983. Keep that year in mind, everybody. I'm going to bring that year and that draft up again. There's also a little bit of history. It was a decision that Eli and Tom Condon made, but Eli ultimately pulled the trigger and in the end did his due diligence and decided to go with Archie Manning. Said, I can't say it was pleasant for our end. Most people thought it was orchestrated, but I did it, and I don't tell my kids tell my kids what to do or to make their decision. Of course, Archie's lying. In Archie's version of the story, Eli came to him for advice, but never asked him directly to do so. So, all's well as ends well. They traded. They got a player for it. And I want to say they eventually got an... they made the trade. They got Phillip Rivers. The rest is history, okay? One more example. This is a very historic example. I got this from the New York Times, 1983. At the time, the greatest quarterback prospect of all time. His name was John Elway. He said, I will not play for the Colts or their owner, Jim Irsay Sr. I got this off an archive right here. This is the blah, blah, blah version of the 19... Okay. The Baltimore Colts opened the National Football Draft yesterday. This is from April 27th, 1983, everybody. It was the Baltimore Colts then. That's how old this is. The Baltimore Colts opened up the National Football League Draft yesterday by selecting Stanford's All-American quarterback John Elway. But hours later, his father Jack said Elway will never play for Irsay or Coach Cush. At a news conference in San Jose, California, his hometown, John Elway says, right now, it looks like I'll be playing baseball for the New York Yankees. That's how highly touted, kind of like the Kyler Murray situation. Kyler Murray could probably go back and play for the Oakland A's if, say, for instance, Arizona don't draft him with Cliff Kingsbury. So this is not out of the ordinary. He said, I'll be playing for the Yankees right now, despite warning John Elway's repeated assertions in recent leaks he would prefer to play in NFL on the West Coast. Robert Irsay, the Colts owner, and Frank Cush, their coach, picked him and listened to the overall offers from teams that wanted to trade for his rights. No deal was completed before Baltimore's selection. Elway was highlight of the 48th annual draft, which began at 8:03 in the morning. Well, schedule continued the 12 rounds at that time at New York's Sheraton Midtown in Manhattan. Long story short, he went to the Denver. The rest is history. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer and arguably one of the top 5 greatest quarterbacks of all time. Now, let's sew all this back up into the Zion Williamson sweepstakes. Okay, like I said, why New York Knicks? I know about technology. I know it's easier to get into a smaller market, still make a name for yourself. But if this guy goes to the Knicks, the state of the NBA right now, with the ratings being down and it not being competitive, with the Golden State Warriors, last night, Steph Curry sat out in the middle of the season. They got blown out. The ratings were way down. People say, well, everybody's watching the tournament. They've been down all season because of the lopsidedness. So the Knicks, I know a lot of you saying, what about the James Dolan? I think that is way overplayed. James Dolan, for what I understand, listen to a lot of the New York City radio stations and the locals there. What's the real about James Dolan? He paid former Hall of Fame coach, a championship winning coach, Larry Brown, ton of money. It didn't work out. He paid Isaiah Thomas a lot of money to come work out. NBA Hall of Famer with the Detroit Pistons. That didn't work out. It ended with scandal. That's a long story there with the woman there. Paid Phil Jackson a fortune. They thought maybe it's a personnel issue. Phil Jackson, we all know, made one great play there. Did not want the job from the get-go. Long story short, I felt like he did the best. And then everybody says, what about the Charles Oakley situation? I looked into that. Charles Oakley was drunk and out of control. That was overplayed. From what I understand, James Dolan is not a meddler. He has made some bad hires. He will spend the money. This is not like the former owner of the LA Clippers, the prejudice guy. From what I understand, salary cap floors are put in for guys like him. There was a period in the NBA where all the teams were losing money except for him because he wouldn't pay anybody. The guy was a racist. He got kicked out. This is not that situation. This guy's also, in James Dolan, rumored to be selling the team. And I do want to add that they have a new GM. They have, this will be a renaissance for the league. They have a very popular GM, and I want to look up his name real quick. What is this guy's name? Well, anyways, he already has a relationship with Kevin Durant right now. They have a very popular, player-friendly coach right now. And I want to try to get these guys' name. Okay. Yeah, anyway, yeah, David Fizdale. And you got Scott Perry, the general manager, David Fizdale. Some of you from the Nashville area, you Memphis Grizzly fans. This Fizdale was a great coach. We had an aging team at the time. He's a very intense, player-friendly coach, David Fizdale. Scott Perry was the assistant GM way back with the Seattle Supersonics, had a previous relationship with the draft of Kevin Durant. So this guy has got a good reputation around the league. These are the people who is going to be dealing with Durant. These are the people who's going to be dealing with Zion Williamson and possibly Kyrie Irving. So what I'm saying is, will be great for the NBA. This would be a renaissance, a change for the better. This will be a B12 shot, and he's got the star power to do it. Say, for instance, the Cleveland Cavaliers get the lottery for everybody is in the month of May. It is before the finals. Say, for instance, that the Cleveland Cavaliers or Phoenix Suns. Now they got a guy like that. They got some players with Phoenix. I get it. But if Cleveland gets it, he has to say this. Have his agent that he's already done signed with. Go to him. Say, I'm not going to play with y'all. I'll sit out a season and I'll draw a lot of money from Nike. You know and I know they're going to pay me a lot. I'll sit out the whole season if I have to. Do you want to do that? Or do you want to trade me and get some kind of asset and still get this player out of Murray State who looks fantastic, got a triple-double? I know they got blown out by Florida State. I think his name's Moet or whatever. But either way, you say that to him. He needs to go to the Knicks. It's good for the league. It's good for the Knicks. They're the biggest market in America. That is a basketball-starving town. I do think this guy could show up and make thousands and thousands of dollars he could not make anywhere else. Obviously, the TV stuff, the commercials, endorsements, he can play in any team in the league. But this guy, the league needs him to do this. Adam Silver should not say a single word about this. It happened with Kobe Bryant in the NBA. We know how tampering goes on. We know the Lakers have been in trouble with that before in the past. I just told you examples in the NFL. There's this certain thing happening. Side note, Bo Jackson said, I will not play with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And he was serious. He's another guy that could have went to baseball. This guy can get a massive contract. If he wanted to go play overseas and set out, if it's a really bad team like the Knicks or maybe like Atlanta or somebody, he could do that. And I think he'll call their bluff. Teams that get that #1 pick. They don't want to blow that. They know how valuable this guy is. So I think he should go to the Knicks. Going back to James Dolan. If James Dolan is that, quote, bad guy, I've said here several times on Sportsskope, 3 stories have came out that James Dolan is rumored to be selling the team. With this guy signing there, the team's value is going to skyrocket, especially if they get a Kevin Durant in his prime and a Kyrie Irving in his prime. They're already worth a fortune. $4 to $5 billion wouldn't be out of the question, plus the stadium comes with it. This would be a great home run for the city of New York, for the league, and a whole. So Adam Silver shouldn't give any flack. All this could be a moot point. The Knicks have the worst record by a long shot. They're going to get the most lottery balls. Hopefully it'll be a moot point. But if it's not, I'm telling everybody, he should make the play to go to the Knicks. It's good for everybody. He'll make a lot more money. He's going to have a big supporting cast there. And they've already got Kevin Knox and everybody. You got David Fizdale, a younger, energetic coach who's going to take care of him anyways. I think it's just it's a no-brainer for the league. No-brainer for Zion. It's no-brainer for Fizdale, for general manager, and obviously for James Dolan. So that's what I think he should do, and he's got the star power to do it. Moving on to other, sticking in the NBA, I know we've got news about Gronk retiring. Rob Gronkowski, first ballot Hall of Famer. I'm going to get to that in a little bit. I'm going to get to the... I'm going to get to this Robert Kraft thing. I'm not trying to take up for a billionaire, but I do think that this is one of those issues where you've got a guy that is being... I feel like the system's bullying him and trying to embarrass him, and I'll get to that in a little bit with the Robert Kraft situation. But anyways, Oklahoma City Thunder last week. Russell Westbrook got a 16th technical foul. He was suspended for a game. The Thunder are currently in 6th place. They're hovering between 5th and 8th place in the West. I understand it's competitive. I know the Golden State Warriors are all that in a cup of soup. I know that Houston is healthy and they're playing well. But a lot of people, and I'm one of those people, Paul George is an MVP candidate this year. He's shooting the lights out from the small forward position. We all know that the last 2 years, or maybe 3, I want to say it's 2, Westbrook has been averaging a triple-double. He's won the MVP. I will guarantee, I'm sure Giannis from Milwaukee is going to get the MVP. But I think that he should be a top 5 MVP candidate, he being Paul George. So when you got an MVP candidate on your team, and you've got a current, a former MVP on your team together, you should win some playoff games. And you've got Sam Presti, arguably one of the best, him and Daryl Morey, the general manager from Houston, one of the best GMs in all of basketball. What am I trying to say? I'm saying that they should be 3rd to 1st. They should challenge Houston. Houston should be going... I mean, they should not have got put out in the first round last year. They should challenge Golden State, which Golden State blew them out last week, and that's where he got that other technical. So what's going to happen? More likely, if they stay between 5th, which means they're going to start off on the road, and 8th, they're going to start off on the road and play Golden State, that they're likely, and it's not unless something major changes between now and April, when the playoffs start, they're going to get put out in the first round. And when they do, Presti's going to be forced to fire Billy Donovan, Hall of Fame college coach, in my opinion. This guy has multiple Final Fours, 2 national championships. But he cannot get Russell Westbrook to buy in, to stop taking too many shots, to stop taking those threes, to stop wearing himself out with the dribble ball. When you've got guys, okay, let me go over this roster again. Dennis Schroeder, a former starter at point guard from Atlanta. Steven Adams, arguably the strongest guy in the NBA. Rim protector, great defender. Markieff Morris, underrated defender. Yes, his twin. The other Morris that plays with Boston. Guy that slowed down LeBron in the past. Arguably one of the best defenders on LeBron. This guy is no schlub. Former #1 overall pick, New Orleans Noel. Terrence Ferguson. I mean, this team is loaded with talent. There is a lot of opportunity with this team, and they're just not living up to it. Good bench. Donovan's going to be the fall guy. So, if he gets fired, what's Presti going to do? He's going to have to get somebody that can coach Westbrook up. And then he's going to have to make a decision. So, if they don't, if they go ahead and fire Donovan in 2019 and 20, Presti should look to move on past Westbrook. Look this up. He will be 30 years old after next season. For the next 3 seasons, he'll make $41, $44, $47 million over the next 3 years. He should look, he being Sam Presti, general manager, to look to trade Westbrook. Me personally, I would look to trade him after this year because I know that it's really not Donovan, it's really Westbrook. Donovan it's just these NBA players. It's a major problem. That's why another reason why I'm going back to that Zion. The major problem with authority. These guys are getting less and less. LeBron is setting a bad example. Drinking wine in the game. I was with Clyde Frazier there. He's sitting way far away from the team. You got all these people in the media making excuses for LeBron. It's just a bad precedent. These guys don't have any respect. And they're blowing off. There's only a few coaches, Carlisle from Dallas and Greg Popovich. I'm not a huge fan of him personally, but he is a great coach, and his players do respect the guy. I don't think, I'm giving you the answer to the question beforehand. I really think he should trade him now. But I'm impressed with his position. He got a massive contract. You owe this guy, like I said, $41, $44, $47 million. From my understanding, he does not have a no-trade clause. He means Russell Westbrook. You could get something for him. He's 29 right now. I would trade him now. There's a lot of teams out there that feels like they can probably still work with a guy like that and get somebody around, with Paul George, who is in a second year of a 5-year deal. So you've got a Paul George in his prime. You got one of the best GMs in basketball. That's not going to happen. Donovan will get fired after the season's over. You're going to have to get somebody like a Phil Jackson, a psychologist, to work with Westbrook and say, man, if you don't pass the ball, you're going to lose. You're getting all these technicals. You're getting into it with people in the crowd. You're worried about everything but the game. And you've got to relinquish power and let Paul George take those last shots. Paul George is playing at a phenomenal level. He's not playing at Durant's level when Durant left, or even now for that matter. But he is playing at a superstar level. He's playing up to his contract. He's averaging 28 points a game. He's hard to stop. He's an excellent defender. With Steven Adams in there too. I've read you over the roster. This team is good on defensively. They've got some shooters. They got everything it takes except for Westbrook. Wears himself out. He takes way too many bad shots. So that's my take on that. The big story, because he is a big star in the league, and they were supposed to be when Paul George signed with this team, and the humiliating loss that everybody saw last year, myself included, to Utah last year. I thought that he would have an epiphany and have a come to Jesus moment, he being Westbrook, and change. He's had his moments this year. When he has had his moments, the statistics say when he passes less, when he shoots less and passes more, and gets them assists up from 12 to 15 to 18 assists a game, they win more. It's not even close. But he's just got this thing. He has to do it. A guy like Colin Coward's been pounding him and pounding him and pounding him in the ground, and I'm fully on board with him, with Westbrook and his antics. This guy's a great talent that is on the verge of being a Charles Barkley, a Patrick Ewing, one of these great players who've never won a championship, and you hate to see that. Some can make an argument that him winning that MVP already, he's a bigger talent than those two. Just to name a few, my friends. So, let's see what happens there. I know that's a big contract, but it's the NBA, and he is a superstar. And remember, there's always somebody with a bigger ego that feels like they can coach Westbrook. So I think they would get some suitors. Okay. Robert Kraft rejects plea deal. This is beyond sports with me. You know, I was going to read this whole story. Let me see how much time. Okay, I got 34 minutes left. I guess I could glance over a little bit. You know, this guy, and I just want to say this, everybody. I know he's a billionaire. I know he can afford the best women money can buy. I get it. He's also 77 years old. His wife's dead, okay? She died of cancer. So, I want to read this. According to multiple reports, this is from, hold on, let me cite these guys. This is from Boston.com. Robert Kraft apparently is uninterested in admitting guilt in his prostitution case. According to multiple reports, The Patriots owner will not accept the plea deal offered him by Florida prosecutors. The Palm Beach State Attorney's Office confirmed Tuesday that it offered to drop the misdemeanor charges for solicitation of prostitution against Kraft and 24 other men if they agreed to perform 100 hours community service. Okay, I get that. And attend a class about the negative effects of prostitution. Okay, this is from a guy who goes to church every Sunday, by the way, okay? And will pay a $5,000 fine per count. $10,000 fine. I'm not worried about Robert Kraft. I'm worried about the 24 other guys who had to pay $10,000 fine for going to a massage parlor with a happy ending. Go figure. According to ESPN investigative reporter TJ Quinn, the last part is a non-starter for the 77-year-old billionaire. It's they're trying to embarrass him. Okay? I'm out of Nashville, Tennessee area. And a couple of years ago, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago, I was reading the paper. And on Valentine's Day, our local police department set up a prostitution sting and got all these guys, local people, and they somehow the media got tipped off. Their pictures and mugshots got put in the paper for getting a prostitution on Valentine's Day, and the paper kind of joked about it. I was reading a survey the other day that I'm in my 30s, that men and women nationally, 51% are now okay with just staying single, no matter what. I'm one of those people. I don't like bullies. I think the state's being a bully here. I thought that that was humiliating. I guess that's the whole idea, to play the moral police. And like I said, morally, yes. If you're married and you get a prostitute, that's adultery. If you are not married and you get a prostitute or whatever, man or woman, that's called fornication. But there's a separation between church and state. That's my big issue with this. I have more of an issue the way the state's handling it and trying to embarrass him and charge him and those other people $5,000 fines. The rest of that story says that basically they're threatening to, if he don't go along with this, submit this embarrassing video. His lawyer saying that they were recorded illegally. So they're talking about releasing this video. I'm sure that TMZ at some point is probably going to get a hold of this. But I'm sure the reason why this hasn't already happened is the authorities got a hold of it and they're still holding this over Kraft's head. If they let it go, I'm sure TMZ is going to offer a lot of money. I'm sure that Kraft is aware of that. And he's probably going to get his guys who have more money to pay him more money to get the video and destroy it. I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself, but I'm sure that's where it's just coming from. We all know about the Kareem Hunt, the Ray Rice story. The NFL is also keeping a close eye on this. This guy's going to get suspended 6 games. He's going to get fined probably, I'm going to guess, $250,000 to $1 million by the NFL, and that's okay. But it's something about that state finding those other guys that kind of money for something like this. I do want to clarify the blessing in the skies with this whole thing. It is shining a lighting on sex trafficking. I totally understand that. But if someone wants to negotiate a deal and taxes are paid to have some kind of sexual relations, I think legally, as a state, from a public safety perspective, I think these people should not interfere. I don't think the law, I think that should pretty much be legal, okay? I don't believe in it, but there is a separation of church and state there. I just think it's just disgusting the way the state is going about doing this. You know exactly what they're doing. So I'm with Kraft's. I put that story out when I originally read it. I thought it was just a fine in, community service. But the fact that they're holding that video, basically saying, "Yeah, we're gonna put you in an embarrassing look, and you make sure and do this." Basically, it's public humiliation. I don't know. It really turned my stomach the way all this sounds, because it comes off as bullying, and I'm an anti-bully straight up. Okay. Big story today. Rob Gronkowski retired today. 521 career catches, 7,861 yards, 79 touchdowns, 4 All-Pros. Remember, you can get out of Pro Bowls. You can, another guy can step down. He don't want to fool with it. He's injured. He don't want to make the trip. He don't want to fool with it. Then they get the next person up. So if the 5 Pro Bowls, you can shake your head and poo-poo. All-Pro saying you are the best in the NFL at that position. Are you a first team? He was 4-time first team All-Pro. 3 Super Bowl rings, 2014 Comeback Player of the Year. And here's the big one. 2011 led the NFL in touchdowns. A tight end. What I'm saying is, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't care if he played with Tom Brady. It was the greatest of all time in my opinion. And in most opinion, he is the most decorated of all time quarterback. Rob Gronkowski is the first ballot Hall of Famer. What does this mean for the New England Patriots? Jared Cook, who is rumored to sign with the New Orleans Saints, technically hasn't signed yet. I read that on Pro Football Talk before the program started today. So if I'm New England, this guy had a career year with nobody throwing him the ball, everybody knowing he's going to get the ball in Oakland. I say nobody throwing him the ball. Derek Carr is a good quarterback. They already traded away Amari Cooper at this point. I played this guy in daily fantasy. He is only 32. He being Jared Cook. If I'm the Patriots, I offer him a chunk of money to sign over with me. If that doesn't work out, he may be the missing piece for an offense in New Orleans that was struggling to score points at the end of the season going into that playoff game. I know they got robbed by the Rams. I've already talked about that. We've talked about that ad nauseum. But this is probably the most athletic tight end that Drew Brees has had since Jimmy Graham. We all know what he did with Jimmy Graham. They set the world on fire. This guy still got some miles left in the tank. There's going to be a big fight between the Saints and the Patriots. And technically, yes, the Patriots have more money to go out and get Cook. I don't know about the tax laws and all that for Massachusetts. Personally, I probably would sign with the Saints. I feel like they may be a better fit for him. He's definitely going to get more balls thrown to him. Because if you don't do what Brady asked you to do, and you miss 2 balls early, he won't throw to you the rest of the game. Ask Chad Johnson. Ask Brandon Cooks. But if you're Deion Branch and you do what he asked you to do, if you're Julian Edelman, you put the work in, you're Wes Welker, you put the work in, you're going to get big numbers from Brady. But with Breeze in this offense, it's whatever the defense pertains. You're going to get your targets. This is going to be a fun story to watch, NFL fans, this week. Other news that caught my eye this week, Justin Houston's only 30 years old, by the way. Pass rusher. He's a cap casualty, and a scheme change in Kansas City was released before free agency. He has signed a 2-year, $24 million deal with the Indianapolis Colts. They have signed him and Devin Funchess. They had over $100 million. They now have $76 million way out in front. As I said before, that money rolls over. So they're just hope. They didn't want C.J. Mosley. They did not want Le'Veon Bell. Ballard, basically, he didn't come out and say it. But I think Mosley wasn't. It was a scheme issue with C.J. Mosley. It was a culture issue with Le'Veon Bell. Keep an eye out for the Indianapolis Colts. By the way, Devin Funchess will be 25 next year, and he is having luck throwing him the football. You say, well, you know, come on, you're giving Cam Newton a hard way to go. Eric Ebron had, from Detroit, supposed to be all-world quarterback throwing in the ball. This guy had 66 catches last year and set the world on fire. I played Eric Ebron several times in fantasy. He had a great year. You get a guy like Devin Funch, who's only 25. He signed a 1-year, $13 million deal. And then you've got T.Y. Hilton, a speedster on the outside. I know I'm broadcasting out of Nashville. I'm just telling you guys, this team's going to be hard to beat. I'm picking them, pending a lot of injuries, to win the South next year. I know Houston's going to be good and to be back. I know Tennessee's made some upgrades with their pass rush, and they picked up a receiver, Adam Humphries. Got Cameron Wake. I thought they overpaid for him. The fact that, but you know, he is 37. I know his numbers are still pretty good, but we don't know what Mariota can stay healthy or not. I know they got a backup. When you got a guy like Andrew Luck and you got these pieces around him, you got some defense built up. Jay Ajayi is also in town. They've been talking to him, but they're not sure about his injury. And I know that Jacksonville has got Nick Foles now. All that is ifs and maybes. We know what Luck done. And he's going to be another year back from that injury. They're going to be that much harder to beat. And they got this money. So if they don't get this year, next year they can make that big splash. It depends on what the GM wants to do. And that money keeps rolling over. And the salary cap keeps going up and up and up. So keep a lookout for this Indianapolis Colts team. They're one of the most impressive, even though they made two really good moves that, other than signing their own people back, one of the most impressive teams in the league. This guy still got some something left in the tank at 30 years old, Justin Houston. So keep that in mind. Rob Gronkowski, first ballot Hall of Famer. The Colts are flying under the radar. Robert Kraft, rightfully so, should not have slept that plea deal. And Zion Williamson, if the Knicks do not win the lottery, and you want some tremendous, if you want to be a mega star, you want to be a star, you want to be a star in New York. I mean, you hear this from everybody, from the NFL to the NBA to Major League Baseball. You could be great somewhere else. You go to New York City, you multiply that by 10. Not to go political, but do you think that the national media would talk about a congresswoman who's 28 years old, Ocasio-Cortez, if she was a congressman in Montana, if she was in Iowa? No, she's from a district in the Bronx in New York City. She's on national shows. Everything is bigger in New York. Zion Williams, the best mecca in New York City, a team that already sells out and they're garbage. That would be amazing. Zion, I'm telling you, please, if this don't demand to go to the Knicks, you've got that kind of leverage. And after you sign the contract, you lose that leverage. Not unless you're a guy like LeBron that's refused to go to a place. And people were talking about LeBron being traded to the Knicks, or Jimmy Buss was threatening to trade LeBron. If he didn't agree to it with his kind of status and money, he could just say, I'm not going to go, I'll retire. I've got that kind of money. Or I can set it out and not show up and you're not getting anything. So that's LeBron. Not a lot of people got that kind of leverage. But before this guy signs, Zion and his dad, I'm sure his dad's giving him some good advice there. I'm so glad that he played in the tournament. He's definitely got that kind of leverage. I like the coaching staff there. I like I said, I like the GM. I think the James Dolan stuff is way overrated. Plus, he's rumored to be selling teams anyways. So that's all I have for this week, everybody. It's been a long week for me. Had some personal things to go to. Had to get a new car yesterday. I've been working on my website. I had to write up some content, send it to this company. That's going to be out in the next few months. If you could please share my show on Facebook and when I post it on Twitter. And also, this is the first week I'm trying this out on YouTube, recorded for my YouTube channel, which is Sportsskope, just like that. The word sports and the word scope. So have a good week, everybody. I will be back next week at 7 p.m. Central Time here on Sportsskope, and we'll be talking probably about the NFL and maybe go into some mock drafts. May talk a little bit about the NCAA tournament. We'll see what happens. There's always something going on in the wide world of sports. Good night, everybody.